Like I mentioned earlier, these two videos are just going to give you an introduction to flash photography. There's so many different avenues you can go down, just like wireless flash technology itself. I mean, there's so many settings and ways of using it which vary between each model camera too. So I'm really just going to show you the concepts here, and depending on your camera you can look up further settings in your camera manual. Like you may have a model that allows you to do wireless flash photography straight from the camera. So if you want to do wireless flash photography and you don't have a camera capable of doing it, you can get these attachments to your hot shoe that allow for a wireless sync to a wireless flash. So even if your flash is not capable of doing wireless flash photography, you can have a adapter that fits on your hot shoe and another adapter that fits on your flash, and then they can talk to each other wirelessly. So we've gone through some basic concepts of using flash just in situations where it's too dark, or to freeze motion and fill flash. Now, one of the preferred ways that I like to use flash is using it with some kind of diffuser. Now what that is you somehow soften the flash look. Now a little bit of background about lighting is important here. If you have a really small point source of light, like the sun, although the sun's huge, when it's a long way away it's effectively a point source, you get really sharp shadows. And if you get a little pop-up flash too, that's also quite a small light source too, so you're also getting quite sharp shadows from that. And even an external flash, although the actual flash head is a little bigger, it's still prone to quite harsh shadows. So the idea of diffusers are to soften that. And to some degree you can use an external flash and bounce it up to the ceiling and use the ceiling as a big reflector, and that gives you a softer looking light. But one of my favorites is to actually use a diffuser on the flash. So I'm talking mostly about external flashes here. So this is my external 580EX for a Canon. So you get these diffusers that fit on top of the flash head like that. So what that does is, instead of that small surface area, you can now actually aim that up, and that becomes your light source. So you're getting it further away from the lens, and you've got this nice large light source there, plus you're bouncing off the room too. So that really gives you more light coming from different directions, which takes away that harsh shadow look. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to show you examples of, first of all, a flash shot with just the pop-up flash. And then I'm going to show you just an example of how you can use this. This is actually part of this diffuser. You can actually put something in front of your pop-up flash to diffuse the light a little, and I'll show you the effect of that. Then I'm going to put a external flash on top here without a diffuser, so you can see the results of that. And then finally I'm going to put a diffuser on, and that way you'll get to see how much difference a diffuser makes. And in the final step to really getting more control over flash photography and getting more creative flash pictures is to start moving your flash off the camera. And that's when you need some kind of cabling system or wire system where you can have the flash away from the camera and be triggered. And so that way you can put the flash anywhere relative to your subject. You're not looking at just front-on flash photographs. You can get some nice, more interesting side lights. So let me show you a couple of those examples. So I'm going to first of all use the pop-up flash, and I'm going to use myself as a subject here. And let's pop that up. So that's how you activate it in this camera. You actually pop it up like that, and now our pop-up flash is activated. And I'm going to set the self-timer mode, so we've got 10 seconds and the flash is going to go off. Okay, so that's straight flash, so that gives you an idea of pretty much straight front lighting, quite harsh, and pretty much the deer in the headlights look. Now I'm going to show you with that little bit of a diffuser on the front. You can actually get diffusers that's attached to your hot shoe and various kinds that slip on, but I'm just going to put this over here just to give you an idea of what a diffuser does. Now of course the pop-up flash is still limited. You're really close to the lens and is limited to how much of a light source you can create with the pop-up flash. Okay, but you will see the difference. Okay, so you can see now it's softened the light a little. So compared to the previous example where it's kind of quite glaring, now you can see the light's a little softened and the skin tone's a little bit better. And now we're going to put the external flash on without the diffuser. So let's try that out. We'll pop down the internal flash, the pop-up flash there, and we'll slide on this external flash. Put in position, on. So I'm just using ETTL, which is just calculating the lighting required through the camera. I've actually set the camera here to manual, 200th of a second at f2.8 because I want that really shallow depth of field, and 200th of a second, which allows my flash sync to work. This camera can actually do up to 250th of a second, but 200th is fine for our purposes here. Okay, so now we're going to use the through the lens flash, and let's get that ready. Okay, so no diffuser, external flash. We've got quite harsh lighting, but there's a benefit to having that flash slightly removed from the lens center. But still, it's quite stark lighting, and that's the point of the diffuser. We're going to add that diffuser now and see how we can soften that light quite a lot. Okay, so adding that diffuser. Now with these diffusers, you can actually, with these particular diffusers, I tend to turn the flash sideways. And that's really useful when you're just shooting on the fly. I use this a lot in wedding photos actually. This is my favored method because in a wedding situation, a lot of the time it's kind of shooting on the run. You don't have time to set up lights and things like that. So you really want to have your diffuser with you all the time, on camera preferably. And although you can get much better lighting, you don't often have time with these weddings to do a dedicated setup with lights. So that way you can shoot like that, and so the light source is slightly high. It always looks strange if the light source is just too low, shining up like that. It really looks odd because we're not really used to seeing a lot of light coming from below rather than above. So you get that, gives you more of that horror look. So it's better to have your light slightly from above. And when you shoot sideways, like portrait mode, you can just shoot like that, landscape, and then portrait. So that way your light source is still a little bit above the lens, which is much more flattering. So yeah, really handy to shoot like that. And in a wedding situation, that's really quick. You'll be taking a few shots like that, flip over to that, take a few more shots. Okay, let's hook us back in here and let's show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so now we have our diffuser on, and let's retake that shot with the diffuser on the external flash. Okay, so you can see much softer light now. I'm going to take one more there. So now you can see, like, instead of without the diffuser where we have that really stark deer in the headlights look, now we have a much softer look. That diffuser is bouncing it off the ceiling and it's creating a bigger light source above your lens and making for overall a nice softer shot. Deanie's going to help out with a couple of shots here. So what I'm going to do now too is I'm going to just take one without the diffuser again so you can see that difference. Okay, look at the camera, Missy. Okay, so this is, okay, there we go. So we can see that harsh lighting. And now we'll put the diffuser on and aim it up to the ceiling like that. And then I'm going to show you how that can do portraits really easy too. Actually, I'm going to take it off here because this is really how I would use it if I'm doing a wedding. I'd be just hand holding the camera here And I usually wouldn't be using live mode, I'll be through the lens so I can get a better, quicker focus happening. So let's make sure our diffuser's on tight. Okay, so this is how I'd really be using it in a wedding situation. I'd be locking on. Okay, so that's how I'd use it. And then if I want to do a portrait shot, just flip it over like that. Okay, look that way a little bit, miss. Now just look up to that light. That's it. Good. Okay. And now, beauty of this is if you need to turn it down a bit, we can just go into the Q menu here, and down here we have a flash compensation. So let's turn that flash down a bit by a stop and try that again. Whoop. Okay, that's probably a little too much now, because now you can see that histogram's too far that way. So let's take it back up to just a third of the stop down. So go into flash, take about a third of the stop off there. Let's try that. There we go. So that's looking a bit better. And let's take it back up to full flash. Seems to be about right. Okay. Give her a miss. Coolio. So you can see much softer light all around. Gives a much more flattering look. Now what I'm going to show you is the benefit of using off-camera flash now. So we can actually take our main flash unit off here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it back on the tripod so we can have the camera held in position. Okay, and we're going to have a drive mode of 2 seconds. And here I'm going to go quickly into the menu, and we set our flash control to external. So there we go, that's our external flash. Menu, enable, great. And now we've got to pop up the flash so that we can use the external setting. Okay, just look into the camera, Missy. Okay, hang on, I've got to get a little bit higher there. Okay, don't look at me, just look into the flash. And we quickly set our main flash unit to slave. So now we can basically get light from any angle now, using this as a slave unit. There we go. So you can see we start getting more interesting light now. Okay, let's try one from this angle. Okay, look at the camera, miss. Okay, look towards me. So you can see how it starts giving that interesting kind of sunlit look, but not too harsh. Like normally a sun would give much harsher shadows than this. So this gives a really flattering light having a diffuser. So let's try one more from up here. Great. Okay, now can you stay that side? And now, yeah, stay there. Now look up towards me, just like that. Yeah, stay in that position. Your head in that position, but look up towards me. Stand up, sit up straight a little bit. There we go. That's it. Okay, let's try that with a little bit of a smile. Nice. There you go, Missy. Lovely. So that really gives you an overview of how using a diffuser on a flash really gives much more flattering light. And I'll talk about a little bit more in the Better Portraits video in the Gold Members section. And like I say, with flash, there's so many settings and things to deal with that really you want to look at your camera manual, see what your camera manual has as far as flash modes go. You can use the pop-up flash for fill flash and occasionally in scenes where you're fairly close to your subject. But like I say, not the most flattering light, so it's good to have some kind of diffuser, or better still, getting an external flash with a diffuser. So that gives you the basics of flash. So now we've covered all 3 points of the triangle. We've covered our composition and perspective. We've covered our light corner, which is exposure, color, and all the elements going into the light or the tonal values, which is all the exposure settings. And we've covered focus, and we've looked at depth of field and using fast shutter speed to freeze and slow shutter speed to blur motion. So that way we've got the whole photo triangle covered. So that gives you a good grounding. So now we're ready to leap into the more creative videos in the gold members area. Okay, thank you.